In a world where strength and resilience are pushed to the limits, one woman dares to challenge the impossible. But as she rises through the ranks, hidden agendas and brutal tests threaten to break her spirit. Will she stand tall or crumble under the pressure? Stay tuned as we unravel this intense journey of courage and defiance. The movie begins with a Senate meeting. Retired Army officer Theodore Hayes is being interviewed for the position of Navy Secretary. The topic is about women having fewer roles in the Navy. Hayes tries to explain why, but Senator Lillian DeHaven from Texas interrupts him. She says the Navy has treated women poorly in the past. To support her point, she shares a secret report called the Lark Report. It contains statements from Navy officials showing they think women are less capable, and includes sexist comments. After this, the Navy has a private meeting with DeHaven. She meets with officials from the Department of Defense, DoD, in her office. These officials don't want women in the Navy and suggest a plan to stop her. They say a woman can join the Navy if she passes one of their training programs. DeHaven realizes this is a trap. The DoD will choose the hardest program to make the woman fail and prove their point. Still, DeHaven agrees because the program will bring her attention and help her career. The DoD meets with Hayes outside the Senate. They decide to pick the hardest program, the U.S. Navy Combined Reconnaissance Team, CRT. This training is very tough, with 60% of people quitting by the fourth week. The third week, called Hell Week, is especially hard. The officials believe no woman will last beyond the first week. The story then shifts to Lieutenant Jordan O'Neill, a topographic analyst in the Navy. She is working in a satellite control room, trying to guide a SEAL team out of a dangerous situation. The control room has lost contact with the team, and one officer suggests sending backup. However, the backup will take 18 minutes to reach the team. Lieutenant O'Neill has a smart idea during the rescue operation. She suggests changing the pickup point instead of waiting for backup. She explains that the SEAL team, being highly trained, will likely find a safer exit themselves. O'Neill studies the satellite images and identifies a spot that will reduce rescue time by half. Her plan is approved, and after 9 minutes, the SEAL team contacts the control room from the exact location O'Neill chose. The team is rescued and a big disaster is avoided. Meanwhile, Senator DeHaven looks for a female candidate for the Navy's tough CRT program. She rejects a triathlete for being too thin and a powerlifter for looking too masculine. DeHaven wants someone who looks like a traditional woman to prove that any woman, not just physically strong ones, can succeed in the Navy. She finds Lieutenant Jordan O'Neill, who is not only an Olympic triathlon contender, but also very smart. O'Neill also looks traditionally feminine, which fits DeHaven's plan. After her busy day, O'Neill spends time with her fiancé, Lieutenant Commander Royce Harper, who works as a Navy operational officer. He praises her for her rescue idea, but warns her not to get too involved in such situations because she is an intelligence officer, not a soldier. Suddenly, O'Neill gets a call asking her to meet Senator DeHaven in her office. In the meeting, DeHaven gives O'Neill the details about the CRT program. She explains that if O'Neill completes the training, it will open doors for women to join the Navy. O'Neill later discusses this opportunity with her fiancé. However, Royce is not excited about the idea. He worries about the risks. The CRT program is very tough and could leave O'Neill with permanent injuries. She will also have to live and train with men who might disrespect her. If she succeeds, she could be sent on active missions for a long time, which means Royce will have to wait for her. O'Neill feels hurt by Royce's doubts. She thinks he doesn't believe in her abilities or their relationship. This makes her even more determined to prove him and everyone else wrong. She decides to join the CRT program. A few days later, O'Neill arrives at the training center. The commanding officer gives her a private room, away from the dorm where all the male trainees sleep. Soon everyone finds out that a woman is in the program. The male trainees are not happy about it. That night, when O'Neill goes to the dining hall, some of the men make rude comments and jokes about her. The next day, the tough training begins. The commanding officer warns everyone that most of them will not last until the third week. He introduces their main trainer, Command Master Chief John Ergale, who is strict and scary. John doesn't seem to care that O'Neill is a woman. While checking their uniforms, he reads a poem, Self-Pity, by D.H. Lawrence, telling them not to feel sorry for themselves. The first lesson teaches them how to carry heavy military boats and quickly get off them. The rest of the training is very hard and pushes their physical limits. Throughout the exercises, John tells the trainees they can quit if they want to avoid more pain. There is a bell in the training yard, and anyone who wants to leave must ring it 3 times. O'Neill gets the same treatment as everyone else, but still hears sexist comments from the men. At night, things get worse. The trainees are given only 4 minutes to eat dinner. They rush to get food, but just as they start eating, the trainers yell at them to return to the training yard. They must throw their food in the trash and continue training on empty stomachs. This harsh routine continues the next day. The trainees endure freezing water, followed by medical checks, and are later allowed to eat the food they had thrown away earlier. O'Neill secretly hides a piece of bread in her pocket and eats the cold food quickly. After dinner, John gives them another challenge. They must write an essay about why they want to join the U.S. Navy. However, this is not as easy as it seems. While the tired and hungry trainees write, John plays relaxing opera music to make them fall asleep. Anyone who falls asleep will be kicked out of the program. O'Neill eats the bread she had hidden earlier, which helps her stay awake and complete the test. 15 minutes later, Command Master John returns and orders the trainees to run to the training yard. They must complete an obstacle course that includes avoiding live gunfire. O'Neill is told she will be given a platform to help her jump over some obstacles. She protests because she wants to be treated like everyone else, but her complaints are ignored. The Army rules say that obstacle heights for female cadets should be lower than for males. During the obstacle course, John watches as O'Neill refuses to use the platforms. She completes each challenge the same way as the men. At the wall climbing obstacle, she even helps her teammates by letting them climb on her back. However, when it's her turn to climb, the men refuse to help her. It's clear they still dislike having a woman in their group. The intense 20-hour-a-day training starts to wear down many soldiers. More and more trainees quit, but O'Neill surprises everyone by staying strong. Still, she feels upset about being treated differently with the platforms. She tries to talk to the commanding officer, asking to be treated equally. Instead, she faces sexist comments, and the officer makes it clear he doesn't want a woman in the camp. Feeling frustrated, O'Neill decides to take action. She goes to a barber shop and cuts her hair short, giving up her feminine appearance. Then she moves her belongings from her private room into the common dorm where the male trainees sleep. This causes tension, especially because she brings tampons with her, making the men uncomfortable. Command Master John notices this and isn't happy with her decision. The scene shifts to Hayes, who has now been elected Secretary of the Navy. He and other Department of Defense officials are unhappy to hear that O'Neill has lasted 3 weeks in the program. Even though the experiment is supposed to be secret, O'Neill's success has reached the news. The public doesn't know her real name and calls her G.I. Jane. Back at the training center, the program becomes even harder, but O'Neill keeps pushing herself. She trains even harder to prove the sexist men wrong. Over time, her body becomes lean and muscular. Meanwhile, news reporters grow eager to cover the story of G.I. Jane, the woman surviving the Navy's toughest training. One day, while O'Neill is showering alone, Command Master John arrives with important news. The most senior member of her team has been hospitalized with a fractured leg. This makes O'Neill the new team leader, because she is now the most experienced soldier in the group. Meanwhile, Department of Defense, DoD officials, and Secretary Hayes are upset that O'Neill has survived Hell Week and is competing equally with the men. However, they still hope she will fail during the next phase of training. CRA. Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape. The CRA phase begins. The trainees are dropped from an airplane into an unknown area. Their task is to reach a target, gather information, and escape without being captured. CRA is not just about physical fitness, it prepares soldiers for real-world survival situations. If they are caught or ask for early extraction, they will be treated as prisoners of war. During the training, 2 members of O'Neill's team are captured because they ignore her orders. Another teammate breaks his leg while rushing to the safe zone. When O'Neill tries to help him, she is also captured. Although they are trainees, the officers treat them as real prisoners. They even torture the injured soldier to force him to reveal information about their team. When it's O'Neill's turn, Command Master John personally interrogates her. With her hands tied behind her back, John beats her severely. Another officer tries to intervene, but John orders him to leave. He drags O'Neill through a door and forces her head into ice-cold water. He tortures her to pressure her teammates into giving up their location, but O'Neill tells them to stay silent. John escalates the torture and threatens to rip O'Neill's pants off, claiming this could happen in a real scenario. O'Neill fights back, hitting John between the legs and kicking him twice. John quickly recovers, knocks her out, and justifies his actions by saying she isn't fit for combat. When O'Neill regains consciousness, she mocks John, telling him to kiss her backside. The male trainees who once disliked her cheer her on and join in mocking John. This moment unites the group, turning them into a true team. Seeing this, John finally respects O'Neill for her resilience and leadership. News of G.I. Jane passing the CR training reaches Senator DeHaven, who is thrilled. O'Neill's bravery has earned her the respect of her teammates, who now treat her as an equal and a friend. One day while O'Neill is relaxing on the beach with her female friends, someone secretly takes photos of her. These photos are sent to the higher-ups, who accuse O'Neill of being homosexual. They claim that being photographed with female officers during training is shameful for the Navy. O'Neill is told she must leave the training while the photos are investigated. She can rejoin the program only if cleared, but she would have to start over from the beginning. Angry and frustrated, O'Neill rings the bell 3 times, signaling she is leaving the program. She goes home to her fiancé, who has shocking news. He shows her proof that the photos were sent from Senator DeHaven's office, the same person who had supported her. It turns out the senator only used O'Neill to promote her political career. DeHaven wanted O'Neill to succeed just enough to scare male leaders, but not fully complete the program. She then used O'Neill as leverage with the Navy to stop military base closures in Texas. When O'Neill confronts DeHaven, the senator first denies knowing anything. Later she admits to using O'Neill for political gain. O'Neill threatens to expose her to the press for exploiting a woman for personal benefit. This forces DeHaven to back down, and O'Neill returns to training, where her teammates warmly welcome her back. The final phase of training is about to begin when an emergency arises. A satellite powered by dangerous plutonium has crashed in the Libyan desert. A team of U.S. Army Rangers was sent to recover it, but needs help. The CRT trainees are sent to assist them. During the mission, O'Neill is nearly spotted by a Libyan soldier. To protect her, Command Master John shoots the soldier, which alerts the Libyan patrol to the U.S. team's presence. A confrontation breaks out, and John gets separated from the team. O'Neill studies the map and realizes John is taking the wrong route to regroup. He is in serious danger. O'Neill takes charge and shows strong leadership and strategy skills. She leads her team to rescue the injured Command Master John, pulling him out of a dangerous area with teammate McCool. Backup helicopters arrive, and with their help, the mission is a success. Everyone who participated is accepted into the CRT. In the final scene, Command Master John thanks O'Neill for saving him. He gives her his Navy Cross Medal and a book of poetry containing the poem, Self-Pity by D.H. Lawrence. Recognizing her incredible accomplishment and bravery, she's fought battles on every front, physical, emotional, and political. But is the war truly over, or has it just begun? Don't miss what happens next. Like, share, and subscribe for more gripping movie recaps of the most unforgettable stories.